The next speaker is, if you were a developer on Farcaster before Linda joined, this was actually your go-to person if you had any developer questions, despite not being on the Farcaster team. So I'd like to introduce somebody who I've learned to solve very close ground and someone I've talked to a lot, Sam Weaver.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Guess I'm actually in New York. There's a lot of me saying things about the US, and I'm actually in New York. It's fun. We're going to talk about 1 year of serving Farcaster companies and building on top of Farcaster. A quick rundown of what that actually means. Well, there's a lot of people in and around the Farcaster ecosystem, a lot of people with AI now coding, but to me there's generally indie hackers, bootstrapped, and also just companies making revenue. There's a few of those. A lot of it, to me at least, is bootstrappers and just people trying to figure it out. And that's also somewhat of what I've basically learned over the last year. Well, what do? It's like a long list, but TLDR is anyone going to market on Farcaster or needing tech support, that's usually us. And this is how it basically feels to build on Farcaster. This is a little meme. This is gonna get bigger because I literally posted this into ChatGPT, and ChatGPT said it's both a joke and a cry for help, wrapped in a dramatic Star Wars aesthetic. If you're literally like spending some time and reading what's up there, this is just like 2/3 of all the terms that generally just mean, hey, you can develop on top of Farcaster, you can do cool shit, you can build community. That's the 3 things, and like the 4th now is with crypto, you can earn money. But like that's Farcaster wrapped into 1 sentence. We use a lot of words to try to describe that. So that's fine. It's fine. We'll figure it out, right? So the one thing that we all do is we're hanging in there because life is not a race, right? Like, even though we're in New York, everyone is hustling, like, it's fine. We'll all be fine. So generally, how does that translate to navigating Farcaster? And I've put a little bunch on the slides that you can read, but there's 2 things in Farcaster that you just kind of like have to do, and that's just talking to people. And the developer calls literally is like a great resource. There's also the recordings of those on YouTube if you want to get transcriptions and just read through quickly. Dylan is also doing a great job at those stack.eth to do summaries every single time that he's in one. But it's a community and a platform that's moving fast, which if you're expecting something like, oh, I'm building on top of the internet that's been around for 25 years, you're at the frontier. So you'll spend some time just reading through all of that and making sure that you're literally up to date. So like attending the dev calls, reading the FAPs, and just generally being open-minded and contributing to the discussion. There's a lot of times something happening which I find quite interesting where Dan and Varun and the whole like Merkle team post their thoughts openly every single time, which literally their thoughts that they have in their head right now. And people take that as, oh, this is the definite thing. Well, no, just like actually have a conversation, ask questions, because literally what's happening is we'll just figure it out together, right? Like, literally, the simple defaults is something that we've talked about and like discussed a bunch. So we're like, should we have a following feed? Should we just have the home feed? How should all of the app work and be set up? Well, you all have input. You all are probably in the 1% of hardcore users that are going to actually play with those settings. So just remember that a good default is the best to have. Part of my job is literally to talk to new developers every single day and just figure it out. The thing that they appreciate is something to get started right quickly, and then they have to adjust. But that initial default to just have a successful moment initially is really, really valuable. Like when you're starting into a new ecosystem, and most of you probably have been onboarded to Farcaster by, say, Dan, Varun, or like a Twitter DM, or somebody literally doing white glove service to you. Most people come into the ecosystem, and they're like, oh, I just see great content, but I need to figure it out. And then going back to like the ChatGPT translation of all of the naming, like just sherper them a little bit. Literally go, have conversations, help them, and realize that for them, a good default and holding their hand is what you need to do. And also like serving Farcaster companies, that is what you have to do. When you're talking to people, just holding their hand and showing them the way is what has worked best for us to really make sure that people understand Farcaster, to see the value and go there. So I've posted a little bit about just like some questions people have had about what we're doing. And let's start at the bottom with counterintuitive learnings from the past year. You don't really need to read all of this. It's on the slides for back reference. But the TLDR is Farcaster is new. So what can you do with it? Well, everything, because it's full on open and programmable. But then also, like, everything usually means there's no good default. There's no playbook. So the thing we learned is just literally show and paint the picture and then walk it together with people. And some people will not see that journey, and that's fine. And we're focusing on the people who want to walk that journey. And the one thing that always comes up is what's the expected payoff? Literally, I have calls like 30 minutes, 60 minutes, where people fall in love with Farcaster, they become active on the platform, but then it's like, okay, so like, what does your company now do in Farcaster? Like, have you seen the leverage you can get? And they're like, well, how much money is it? What are we getting out? And Farcaster to me is a brand play or a play on building a community if you're in that sphere, if you're out for developers. If you want to make money on Farcaster, using the wallet is a really, really great way to do that. We built a mini app with Morpho that's now roughly around the hundreds of thousands in like total transaction volume in the like 3 months that it's out. And for Morpho, it's really cool because it's just like actual users, like humans, in the end, just small people using it instead of just institutions that they also have through their Coinbase integrations. But that's kind of like the thing there. And getting back to this, show don't tell is even more important on Farcaster. Like communication, and that's at the top, is the tool we have. Always remember that Anakin meme where literally there's a lot of shit we have to communicate, so breaking it down, making it simple, showing people the way, just like if you watch The Mandalorian, like this is the way, and constantly repeating and reiterating that.
This is the way.
This is the way. This is the way.
Is really, really important. And also in there, like that this open protocol is there for you. You just have to spend some time on it because we're all developing it together. And that core understanding is something that I want to drive home today, is you can all contribute, and you should. And nobody should feel left out because they're just like, oh, should we ask this, should we not ask this? But that also means everyone tries to figure it out, and we have to handhold each other as well. So come to Farcaster is still the one page that you all have basically agreed to, right? You're here. So you're already on Farcaster, but even businesses outside of Web3 want to go to Farcaster. And I'll tell you why. Because businesses outside of Web3 have a hard time monetizing audiences and targeting audiences. Last November in Hamburg, I gave a workshop for corporate developers. Corporate meaning like tens of thousands of employees, like billion-dollar revenues, just traditional businesses, how we would call them. They're sort of like SAP of the world and those tech companies, but also German manufacturing companies. And those businesses would love to have the ability that we have in having all the open data and saying like, hey, I want somebody interested in a new dishwasher, and I can just search for that and target them. Facebook makes them pay to generally reach that audience. On Farcaster, all the data is open. It costs $10 a month on API providers to be like, hey, I can search this. I can directly reach out. I have notifications. It's also programmable. It goes into my backend, into my CRM. Well, it goes into my backend. My CRM is something where we need good defaults, and we're building those out for those companies to have a product they can use instead of having to build them themselves. And we'll get there, but this is part of where we currently are. So this is a list of things that I think are super undervalued in Farcaster. The general theme aligns with what the businesses not in crypto really like about Farcaster, and that's the open data, all the possibilities with the open data, and literally taking that together, if you want to use AI, if you don't want to use AI, and building a great experience. Some of that is Embed is an API provider, Indexing.co's API, Naynar's API, direct messages, and literally using all the Farcaster tooling. There's a blog post, detect.vision/Farcaster/start, where we've just, like, it's on that little QR webpage as well, where we just broke all of that down. And that to me is the most interesting thing. And this is generally the pitch for me, is build a mini app, because you get to leverage all of that round trip in one thing. So if you like mini apps, if there's anywhere you think I can hold your hand, feel free to talk to me. I'm always one message away. And thank you so much for attending.